One of the most helpful things in working with teenagers or even young children in managing the tech time is setting clear boundaries for it. So if you have an expectation in our family, we have limits of 2 hours a day because that's what we feel like is helpful. We just set that early on and then we hold to it really consistently. Of course, there can be small exceptions here or there, but it becomes really helpful just to know like this is what our family does and this is what we feel like is the most helpful thing. So having very set, consistent boundaries that way. There are some apps and actually like filtering time management programs that can help with that. So as an example, the most recent version of iOS, which is like iOS 12, has this built into it. They felt it was enough of an issue and people were wanting it, where they have time systems where you can manage it very easily of when the phone can be on, when it can be off, setting a certain amount of time, screen time, so if they go over a certain number of hours, they can't have more if it's on a family plan unless like the kind of parent allows for that. So it helps with that system and monitoring, but you still may have some kickback early on and people not liking those rules, especially if it's an immediate change for them. But that consistency tends to be one of the most helpful things there. I think it's imperative that parents understand what's really going on to drive these behaviors. If we don't understand what's going to happen is it's going to become a me versus you type of thing, or even like power struggles, and those just don't tend to be helpful at all. What's far more useful for parents is truly understanding and then speaking to the child at that level. So even being able to reflect back, like, I know this is really hard to switch gears. I have a hard time with it too. If I'm at work or I'm really involved with the task, it's hard for me to pull away and do something else. So I respect that and I'll give you a little bit of time to transition, but we also have some other things we need to do. So the more parents can truly understand and put themselves in their children's shoes, I think you're going to have far more compliance and just a better relationship with your kids anyway. It can be really helpful to give kids a warning in advance. So in working with my own kids, even who are typically developing, I almost always give them a 5-minute warning before I turn off a show. Otherwise, if I don't, and sometimes I don't because I forget, but if I don't, like, it's screaming, it's falling to the floor, complaining like, why did you do this? Whereas if I give a 5-minute warning, sometimes I still get the screaming and complaining, but it's usually less, or I'm able to go back and say like, hey, I gave you a 5-minute warning, like I want you to be prepared and feel like you're ready to do this to make the transition easier for you. And it's better, still not perfect, but it certainly is better than just this abrupt change, especially if we're talking about kids with autism who don't deal well with that immediate change.